Rose Buddies. How is everybody doing today? Happy Tarot Tuesday. That is the day that it is. You will see I have a new setup. We've got web captioner working. We've got our tarot card cam working. We are upgrading. Everybody please give me a small clap because I like praise and because I'm not naturally gifted at this sort of stuff. Yeah, look at me getting all fancy. Hi TK, thanks for lurking. It's nice seeing all the familiar faces, or I guess handles, in chat. Goodness gracious. So it has been really 2 weeks since our last Tarot Tuesday. Last Tuesday, our friend Friday Elliott, who usually does Tea and Tarot on Tuesdays, I wonder if they're going to be doing Tea and Tarot today. I should have checked probably. Anyway, they joined us on the stream and we did a really fun group craft. We made mandala spells, or God's Eyes, which I actually left mine upstairs. Probably should have brought it. Womp womp. What? Panicking Pangolin, thank you so much for the raid. That's very sweet. Oh, and thank you folks for the follows. Let's see. Awkward Scone. That's a really fun name. Hello, welcome. We're chatting about tarot cards today. We're going to talk about the minor arcana. I figured I'd do a little bit of show and tell as folks join us. I'm working on a spooky Halloween adventure while listening. Well, that is the perfect thing to be listening to on Tarot Tuesday. Oh, ooh, trying to do dual screens. I love me the double screen. Do folks here have the luxury of multiple monitors? Because it really is life-changing. But I've tried doing 3 screens before, and it was like too much. I was like, oh God, I'm in the Matrix, and I had to go back to 2. But I used the 2 screens, but I used that thing on Windows where you can kind of like swoop something to the side. Oh, Lukey Cham. Either way, thank you for following. Sorry for butchering your name. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're using web captioner. It works pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't. And in those cases, you know what? It's entertaining. So it's kind of win-win in that way. Yeah, I use the little thing where you can swoop something to the side and it takes up half of the screen. And then it's kind of like the shape of the window without like wasting extra space that the window doesn't need. But I find with 3 monitors, I feel too surrounded by my screens. Thank you for noticing, Dusty. I wanted to give us a little more ambiance, so I've got a sort of like old-timey photo filter happening on my overlay. No, that's the spooky spirits chilling with us, the web captioner. Funny. Goodness, so like last week we had a really nice chill crafting stream, and I ended up spending the rest of that week, which I was on staycation last week. Decided I haven't taken a vacation all year because usually I save my vacation time for different cons and events. I didn't have any of those this year, so I just didn't go on vacation at all. But I decided to just stay at home and chill, and I crafted and I spent time in nature, and I didn't realize how burnt out and crispy I was getting until I got to enjoy some time off. Thank you! Yeah, this was an acquisition during and I have to do these buttons here. An acquisition during my vacation. We took a little trip to Olympia. A lot of the little shops in the downtown there are taking a lot of extra measures to make sure their shops are safe. They're limiting how many people can go in. They've got so much hand sanitizer when you walk in, and of course we wore our masks. But I picked up this dress from my favorite thrift shop down in Olympia. Oh, Panicking Pangolin, that is very sweet of you to say. They said, I love the energy of your streams. Sorry I'm not super chatty. They are really lovely to wind down to. Well, I'm glad that you feel that way, and that makes me really happy, so thank you for sharing that. You don't have to be super chatty. I just appreciate you being here. Also, I think that crafty energy is important as a recharge. I've started crafting again and found my productivity has actually gone up now that I'm using it as a cleanse, says Dungeon Mom Designs. I totally agree. So I wanted to do a little show and tell of a lot of the crafts that I've been working on because they are kind of witchy, and then we can warm up because I always feel a little nervous for Tarot Tuesday. I don't know why. All of you are so supportive and kind. There's no reason for me to feel nervous, but I do. Well, actually, I have the wand that I'm keeping. I made a whole bunch of wands. Dusty Buns and I foraged a bunch of driftwood. And I have a large collection of crystals I've just picked up. A lot of clear quartz because I use that the most in my practice. And I just started like fitting the different rocks that we have. Let's see if I can get this to focus. If I lean forward a little bit. Me? There we go. Here's one where the driftwood kind of goes to the side and the obsidian here fit perfectly. That's something Dusty's foraged from some trips. And then I kind of wanted to continue the arc of this wooden piece, so I put the clear quartz on the side there. And I really like the feel of this one in my hand. I like having, most of the tools that I have are very long, so it's nice having a more compact tool to travel with. And Britt, thank you so much for gifting subs to folks. Oh, I just set the new September sub goal, so that's really exciting. Thank you. And I hope folks who got gifted a sub enjoy their Jarmathy emotes, our little bat friend. So I've made a whole bunch of wands. I learned wood burning, so I made this little ceremonial broom, which in a book that I'm reading, A Witch Alone, it talks about how in witch history, brooms were sort of the first wand. So it's a ceremonial broom. It's small. I guess you could use it with like a dust pan. It's the right size for that. I've added, let me see if I can get this part to focus. I've added some crystals, some kyanite, and some little quartz, a whole bunch of little quartz to the top there. And I did a design that was inspired by Mary and the Witch's flower on this, and I did not like it because that flower needs so many little circles, and practicing with the wood burning tool, which is super new to me, I am not good at doing curvy things. So I ended up covering it by burning the whole handle, but leaving, by these little knots, leaving eyeball shapes, which I really love how it turned out. It feels very worn because I went over it. So I'm really excited about that. My cute little broom. I made 2 brooms. I think the hardest part was foraging sticks for the bristles. And having to strip the leaves and cut so many. Only Play Wizards, hi! And thank you for thank you everyone for saying nice things about my broom. I think this is my favorite thing I made while on vacation. We went to these woods in Olympia. There's 40 acres of forest on a campus, a college campus there. And because the students basically live in this forest, they really imbue it with their spirit. So it's this beautiful, dense, lush, mossy woods, but there's magical things hidden throughout it. So someone took the time to create from cardboard and paint and pencils and markers these really spooky, like almost like spirit masks and faces, and just hid them throughout the forest. So as we were hiking through, we just kept seeing little remnants of these spirits, and there are magic circles with like bones and candles and shrines, and these humongous trees that look like, that have such personality. There's one that looks like a demonic rabbit. It's kind of got these 2 branches, and one's like broken, and so it's flopping down, and it has like this face, that looks like a smile from far away, and then you get close and it looks really menacing. Anyway, the handle for the broom, we actually foraged from right next to that demon bunny tree. We think it's maple. So I also really like that the handle feels really worn from being wood burned and from overlapping designs, because it kind of captures the feel of what that forest feels like. And the first thing I saw walking into that forest were eyes that were painted on the trees. So I really like that I have the eye design. What do you use brooms for, or is it just decoration? Well, I imagine it probably varies by craft. This one is meant to use anytime you would use a wand, because you can kind of hold it like so, and it's got a decorated tip like a wand would, to sort of focus energy. But I really like the idea of when I'm doing some spells I do, and they're like a really quick casual thing, and some I like to have a lot of intention and open a circle. And before I open a circle, I really like to use a broom, and I have another broom. Actually, do I still have it here? I do, but it's like fallen over and be really hard to get. Sorry. I was going to show you the progress of my broom making. But I like to use a broom to sort of sweep away negative energies and feel like my area is clean and a blank slate for the intention that I'm going to create. You don't need a broom to do witchy things. Tools are really just, at the end of the day, props for focusing your intent. Your intent is really what's most powerful. But I find tools really helpful for me, so I like making them. Use it to brush off the haters. Exactly. Or, like, thwack them. Yeah, Dusty said, it's Evergreen State College campus. There are humongous swaths of rainforest, and it's just the most lovely, magical place. Dusty's told me so many stories about that place, and I'm really glad I got to go. There's a place in Thunder Bay, Ontario, with a forest trail with a bunch of hidden garden gnomes. I think it's called Ghost Hollow. That's so cool. That's so cool. Ooh, that sounds like a nice tool, though, when you want to treat yourself. Not threat yourself. That's a typo. Yeah, I also like multi-purpose tools, so that this is both a broom and a wand, and it has that length that I like to use in tools. Appeals to me. It also, they kind of just help me get in the right frame of mind. So that's the broom that I made. I just kind of wanted to show off because I've been adding them to everything. This is a bullet journal that I just started to use as a planner. It's a plain black notebook, but I covered it with this really cool witchy fabric. There we go. By Fireside Textiles. I've had this sitting in my drawer forever, but I hate sewing, so I don't know why I collect fabric aside just to hoard it. So I decided to cover my notebook with it. I used this Rub and Buff, which is a metallic gold matching this metallic fabric print to just make it look a little bit grubby. And then I added a glass eye and covered it with leather and made a hot glue tear, which I also painted gold with the Rub and Buff. Which I like making things feel as worn as possible immediately, because otherwise I feel like they're so precious. I don't want to ruin them. I'm careful about like always using exactly the right pen and my handwriting looking the same. And now that this looks like a little bit worn, just from how I've crafted it, I'm a lot less precious about it, which helps a lot for a bullet journal, actually. Yeah, it's a little weepy eye. Hey, Latia, thanks for joining. You should do a crafty stream about how to add fabric to journals. That would be a fun stream. I don't know how other people do it, but I could certainly do that with how I do it. Actually, tomorrow is Druidcraft, and I haven't decided yet what I want to craft on my stream. And now I even have like a cam where I could maybe like show you all as I'm crafting and you can see it better. So we'll have to figure that out. I'll probably ask the Discord for ideas. But in chat, if you have ideas of anything that I've made that you kind of want to see, let me know to see if I can figure it out. Okay, the last thing, and I need to figure out how to show this without... The light is there and this is a mirror, so I don't want to like blind everybody. You can see my camera maybe. I've mounted... well, let me back up. I made a mirror. Let me tell you about why. I got this humongous book that I saw a witch on YouTube recommend called Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells. It's humongous. It is a proper grimoire. Some of the spells are like one sentence. They're sort of like folklore or superstitions. Some of them are quite lengthy. Some of them use toxic ingredients, and they're just in here as a bit of remnants of history, and there's warnings on them. And they are from a mix of different cultures all around the world. And the first thing I did was go into the index and look up Chinese traditions. and go look at every single spell that was a Chinese tradition. And there are, some folks have this book. Oh yeah, it's a great resource. If you're able to pick it up, I really I'm enjoying it so far as sort of like a research thing, inspiration for spells, and for me, getting to know my culture a little better. The traditions that I recognized were accurate. So there was one that I didn't recognize, but I'm more likely to trust it because the other ones were accurate to what I know. And that is a technique for drawing down the moon and creating a lunar charged mirror, a lunar charged magic mirror that you can then use as a tool for manifesting your wishes and your goals. So the full moon, I got this weekend. The full moon is tonight. And so I was like, well, that's perfect. I'm going to make myself a pretty magic mirror. I could just use like a plain little mirror, a pocket mirror. And I actually kind of wish I'd well, I'm not going to say that in front of the mirror, but I did think you could just use like a little compact and then you would always have that with you. You could like store it in your purse and stuff. This is much bigger, but it's quite pretty, I think. Let me again try to not like, oh God, I don't want to. Okay, sorry if this is really bright. Also, you can see my camera in my messy room. But it's a mirror. I've mounted it to wood. I wood burned a bunch of ray lines all around it. Actually, there, you can kind of see it. Ooh, that is an unflattering angle. I'm just going to hold it there. And you can see the wood burned lines I did. And I added some moss and like different types of quartz. There's a spirit quartz, some little quartz points, some sea quartz that I foraged from the bay. I wood burned a little watermark onto it because the moon I associate with water, and a little pentacle for protection. Thank you. Have you seen another book based on herbs used in spells? I mean, there are a number of other tomes about herb things. I don't have like a book that's just about herbs, but do you have a recommendation for us, Katarina? Anyway, those are all the crafts that I have worked on this past week. I continue to find a little bit of time at night to work on crafts because, goodness, just working on them on my week off really reminded me how important crafting is to me. And in witchcraft, using tools that I've made, you kind of already have this deep connection with them. So yeah, I've been really, really enjoying that. I think I'm gonna continue to craft and share those crafts. Especially if you see me on Twitter, it's like all I'm posting these days. That and frustration that it's that hashtag thirst trap RPG is trending, and all of my beautiful friends in this community, which is all of my friends in this community, are posting like really gorgeous pictures of themselves. Some of them quite saucy. But shall we talk tarot, everybody? I have the Ace of Cups here because this is where we are going to start. Cups. Oh, hold on. I gotta do a mod thing. Green Witch. Oh, I think I actually have that. Is that like this little book and it's got, well, I mean, I feel like any book called Green Witch would have this, but it's like black or like a charcoal, and then it's got greens like all around the edge. I haven't read it, but I have it on my shelf. I'm currently working my way through, do I have it with me? I do not. Must be it's on my table over there. I've been working my way through a book called A Witch Alone, which is for solitary practitioners. It's written so that if you wanted to, you could read it a chapter per moon, and throughout a moon work on these exercises that they have in the back of the chapter. And it talks about magic in ways that really resonate with me, about how it is not just a return or a focus on mindfulness and intention setting, but that it is a return to old traditions and feeling connected with the earth in a way that we haven't since we've become less of an agriculture-based society. Anyway, I've talked about that a lot last episode, last week. 2 weeks ago, we talked about cups. Do you all remember? Were you here for our cups discussion? We went through every single cups card. And we talked about the water symbolism in each card. So I'm not going to go through every cup card again, although in the book that we are going through as part of this series, Intuitive Tarot, the next chapter was getting to know the cup cards, which I did do because it was good to revisit and get a refresher and see how much I retained, which actually, when you delve into the symbolism of the card and the why it means what it means, I found that I actually retained more than I ever have. I also, this is my first time diving into tarot where I start with the minor arcana rather than the major arcana. And Dusty actually made a comment when I was doing a reading for him for practice, that I'm the only person he knows who started with the minor arcana. Everyone starts with the major arcana. But the minor arcana are representative of the people, the circumstances, things that happen in your day-to-day life. Things that also that you can change and affect your future. They are warnings and guidance, whereas major arcana are like these critical life lessons that are coming up. And because they're about your everyday circumstances, they're more recognizable isn't the word I'm looking for. They're more familiar, I suppose, and so it makes sense that they would be easier to learn. The little books that come with the cards are so helpful. That as well. I really love when the little white book is kind of the term for it, even if they're not little white books. I really like when the artist or creator goes through and talks about why they picked what they pick. The books don't always do that. Sometimes it's just like a list of keywords. But in the tarot deck I use, which is Forager's Daughter Tarot, there are, I'll show you, like, open it up. You can see, like, they're quite lengthy, each of the entries, and some of them have little anecdotes or stories about why that symbol means what it means to the creator. But she talks about every single symbol in a description, and then there's keywords for the upright meaning, the reversed meaning, but also for each symbol she includes. So you can really hone in on, for the Chariot, she has a thistle on it, and the thistle represents obstacles and slow progress. Yeah, it's a big little white book, but I find it so useful. Okay, so the next thing was chapter, which is at chapter 8, day 8. We were talking about cups. And so the next few chapters all kind of have the same format. It talks a little bit about what the suit of cups generally, or what that suit generally stands for. What do they mean when you get them in a reading? And also what it means when you have a reading that has like a whole bunch of that suit. And then there's really helpful summaries of what those cards, going ace all the way through the king, just a sentence or two about what each of those cards generally mean. And then what I thought was particularly helpful in this book is that at the end of that description, they ask a question. Is it always a question? Yeah, they ask a question of, like, if you got this card, what is a question you might want to ask yourself? Oh, folks are saying stuff. Yeah, with every description, it adds personality to every deck, says Katarina. Totally agree. The guidebook for Wildwood, says Dame Hex, has image descriptions, in-depth meanings, reading points, and keywords. It's very helpful. That does sound really helpful to learn about your deck. The Tarot of the Divine tell you about the myths associated with the cards, and I found that knowing the stories helps with the meanings. I feel like that deck might be really, really good for people to learn about tarot, because people generally have an easier time remembering stories rather than remembering a list of facts. And so that every card is linked to a story or myth of some sort, I feel like that just seems like really, really useful to me. Hi, Hi, Nikki. Thanks for joining. All right. So, and then at the end, there are the same exercises, which has you lay out all of the cards for that suit. You kind of see what you notice that's like, whether your tarot deck has a flow from card to card. I've done that for 2 suits in Forger's Daughter Tarot, and I'm just going to say, like, the cards are not really linked together. They're linked together in type of imagery and type of symbols. She uses a lot of plants, animals, moon phases, but aside from that, I don't see a story. I would have to really stretch to see a story between card to card. So I'm probably just going to skip that exercise for the rest of them. But the next exercise is to prepare a suit summary. There's a little handout in the back, which I'll hold up so that folks can see it. It's a tarot suit summary. And you can see you put like the element associated with the suit, characteristics associated with the suit, positive and negative, what activities and events you would associate with it, and like if the suit was a person, what would their personality type be? And there's even a space to, like, if I had magazines and stuff, which I don't really, not ones I want to cut up, but if you had magazines you'd be okay with cutting up, you could, I guess you could print or cut up and paste images that represent cups to you. If you're a really very visual person. Yeah, I love worksheets. Latia, I'm already loving it. Honestly, your pictures are making me kind of want to pick up that deck, even though I thought I was going to pass. I was like, the imagery is super gorgeous, but I don't know if it contributes something to my collection that I feel like I need. But now I'm like, it's so pretty. The texture of the cards looks really nice too. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cups. So for those of you who were part of our stream 2 weeks ago when we did Tarot 101 and used the cups as our example, the Ace of Cups is here because that is what we're channeling. We're not going to go through every card, but I'd love if chat, I'm just going to pose a bunch of questions so that you all can type, and then I'll talk a little bit more, and then I'll read what everyone else contributed. So, let's say, what is a cups person? How would you describe them? You could browse or just pick up only the hardcover Beneath the Moon if you're into the stories but don't necessarily want or need the deck. I didn't know you could get the book just by itself. That's what drew me to Yoshi's new deck too, the basis in myth and fairy tales. Yeah, when I saw them start that project, that really drew me to it, especially that they drew on myths from all different cultures. Oh no! Fake Geek Girl, I'm sorry. Moobot is a little bit... If you tried to paste the link, Moobot gets a little bit angry. So I'm sorry that it yelled at you. Sorry, Moobot's mean. So yeah, let's talk about a cups person. So cups cards are associated with water. So you could also think about, well, what is a person who I'd associate with water? What would I describe them as? Dungeon Mom says they are full of energy. They encourage community and the ability to fill up other folks' cups and are always the eternal optimist. Yeah, Fakey Girl, I'll look it up after the stream. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know that it's available just as a book. Katarina says, I feel like cups are obviously similar to water signs, but in the most simplistic way. So imagine someone super emotional and just aware of relationship dynamics. Yeah, I find that... So you picked up on one thing, that water or cups are very much associated with emotion. Emotion, creativity, relationships. Let's see, did I miss anything there? Intuition and feelings. Those are all things associated with cups. But I think oh yeah, Dame Hex, those are great words. Mindful, caring, creative. Mindful, I think, is a really, really great word to throw out there, because cups they aren't just about emotion. They're about balance. So water can be very calm and still. Water can be like really forceful and formative, like a tidal wave is so powerful. And the lesson I feel of the Cups cards is about finding that balance. Sometimes it's more important to be more emotional, to lean more on intuition and habit. Sometimes it's serves you better to not act on your first instinct, to kind of notice that you're feeling emotional, see what that is telling you, and then like think through more thoughtfully, more mindfully, how you want to react. When I think of cups, I think of abundance. Yeah, and the Ace of Cups especially that I have here as our little focus, you can see is like overflowing. Hey Ooze, thanks for joining us. What are some adjectives you would use to describe a cups person? And these can be both positive and negative. In fact, with tarot, especially with, upright cards have positive and negative to them. But when you start bringing in reverses, even more so. And so there's some words that folks have already called out. They're creative, they're caring, they might be really imaginative, extrapolating from what some folks have said, they might be really spontaneous, encouraging, mindful, optimistic. Optimism is something that folks have called out. To me, that's cups. It's not just optimism, but is like kind of, they have a romanticized view of life, like they see through rose-colored glasses. And there's positive and negative to that. So the negative might be you have unrealistic expectations. If your emotions aren't in balance, you might be overly emotional. You might be under emotional. There's probably a word for that. Dispassionate, disengaged. Yeah, go with the flow. Kind of really tying into that water can be like very fluid. So that is what you're going to get as you go through the suit of cups. And when you get to the court cards, which are the court cards can represent people in your life or personality traits, a lot of those adjectives are going to come in. So I would say the page is probably like curious and creative and youthful. The knight is very like romantic and sensitive and gentle. The queen has this like deep well of empathy and compassion. And the king, he's the ruler of his emotions. He's perfectly in balance. Dungeon Mom says, I love my Three of Cups because the symbolism of community and working togetherness. That's one of my favorite cards for that reason as well. A very go with your first instinct kind of person. Yeah, I feel like cups can tend to lean that way. They do talk about balance, but a lot of those cards really encourage you to lean into your intuition. So what happens when you have a spread that has a lot of cup cards in it? So we've touched a little bit on the types of topics that cups are associated with. So if anything where emotions really come into play, so relationships, personal interactions, any sort of like matter of the heart, emotional conflicts, creative conflicts, when you're trying to get those answers, cups are really going to come up. I pulled Three of Cups in the first reading I did after joining the AL admin team, so it's really special to me in that regard. Oh, wow. What an auspicious card to pull in that particular scenario, especially because there's three of you. Interesting you mentioned positive connotation with Three of Cups. I've always been told it deals with gossip. That's really interesting, Katerina. I've not heard of that. I associate the Three of Cups very positively, but it is about community, a sense of playfulness. I wonder if... so some people like to read reverses. I'm kind of figuring out how I feel about that. I wonder if in reverse it could mean that. Another approach is some people always read upright or read them the same, whether they're reversed or upright. But depending on the situation, the question, the circumstances, the cards can offer different wisdoms. So every card has sort of like a more positive or more negative association with it. And that gossip, that can kind of be when community turns sour. So it might hold that meaning. Oh, hey, Hannah, stop that old woman. I've heard it interpreted as gossip / criticism when read in reverse. That's sort of, yeah, that's a good sort of flip side to that positive community aspect. So that's us talking about cups today. I'm only touching on cups a little bit because we really did that super in-depth card by card. But we are going to do an in-depth look at all of the pentacles in my deck. So I hope everyone is ready to interpret some symbols. I also wonder if that could have to do with the positive function of gossip within a tight-knit community, which is to sort of ensure that members are sticking to the norms of the group. Yeah, I suppose, it's like, there's communication in a community, and that can be positive or negative. That is a great interpretation. Yeah, let's get Pentacle up in here. All right, I'm going to put my cup cards away there. And we're going to look at some pentacles. Okay, I'm going to put the Ace of Pentacles here to be our focus. But let's talk about pentacles a little bit more in general. Who here knows what pentacles are associated with? Katarina says, money, money, baby. Ooh, yeah, Dame Hex, she has her cards out, ready to compare. That's a great way to participate in the stream. If you have your tarot deck, go grab it, sort out all the pentacle cards while we're talking about pentacles in general, and we can, as we go through card by card, you can kind of see whether we share symbolism in our decks, or as we talk about each meaning, you can pick out what symbols your deck has that can help you remember those meanings. My pentacles are stones. All right, Hannah's also ready. They're the representation of earth in a deck. Yes. Hannah says finances. Yes. So pentacles are all about the external world. And that is like how you interact with it, how you shape it, how you grow it. And so a lot of times pentacles speak to career and finances. They're really about manifestation. In Intuitive Tarot, I wrote down this note here that pentacles are about ego, self-esteem, and self-image, which honestly, even though I'm most scared of swords, I've always felt most removed from pentacles because I've really kind of pigeonholed them into this card comes up, it means it's about my job. And I've been very lucky that of all of the insecurities I have, I've usually felt pretty confident in work scenarios and finances. But hearing this description of it, that it's about ego, self-esteem, and self-image, that kind of helps me connect with pentacles a little more. Dungeon Mom says they are very, very self-reflective in all aspects of life. Dame Hex associates them with achievement, security, money, and possessions. So let's talk about a pentacle person. A pentacle person. What are positive attributes they might have? What are negative attributes they might have? Lucia has her cards out but is grabbing the book. Dusty says home, groundedness, rooting oneself, worldly possessions. Hannah, thank you so much for subscribing. Pentacle people are practical, says Latia. Ooh, that's a really great word. I feel like in the court cards, did I write practical? I feel like all of the court cards for pentacles, which represent people and personality traits, have a practical aspect to them. They're kind of no nonsense, but not in sort of a cutting way, the way swords can be, but just they're very down to earth. They don't need lots of glitz and glam. Some words I wrote down were manifestation, realization, prosperity. Pentacles scare me. I always fear that my interpretation is a fear I'm not ready to confront. I feel like we all have that suit that those cards come up and we're like, get away. For me, that's swords. Pentacles have always been associated with time for me as well, so I typically see pentacle people as knowing how to use time really well as a resource. That's really interesting. How do I want to word this? Is you're associating them with time? Is that something you've picked up through interpretations you've read in books? Is that something you've just intuited? I love that, and I feel like I'm going to reflect on that probably as we go through these cards. They are Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They really are, though. They really are. I'm rewatching Avatar right now. I think so many people are. And I've definitely thought about tarot and elements as I've watched. Self-image can be both negative and positive. Fakey Girl points out, I mean, time is the single most valuable resource, possibly. It's true. It's true. It's almost like that's making me think too much about my mortality. Some negative words I wrote down, and I actually feel like Pentacles can, whereas I felt like Cups is generally overflowing with positive things you can say about it. Pentacles, I felt like there's a danger of negative attributes. So I wrote down possessive, greedy, materialistic, overindulgent. You can be too career focused. On the opposite side, you could be mismanaging your finances or being lazy, not exercising. Lucy Cham says in a book called, I don't know how to say her name, I'm sorry. In a book called Little Book of Tarot, she explains that pentacles are resources, which include money, possession, and time. So I always think of my time when pulling pentacles. I feel like that's going to stick with me. That really... In fact, do I have my pen? I don't have my pens with me. I kind of want to write a little note. I'm going to use this pen. It doesn't match, but your Book of Shadow needs to feel worn. I don't want to forget this. I'm going to write pentacles are resources. Are resources. Money. Possessions. And time. I'm going to underline time. That's really interesting insight. I love that. Jules Verne, first of all, hello. Jules Verne says, I actually like Pentacles because it feels very achievable, where some of the other suits are very esoteric and or internal. Pentacles tell you a specific thing that you can do. I'd not thought of it that way, but that's a very good point. I like how time can be both negative and positive, says Dungeon Mom, because if we give time in the wrong way, it can have very negative effects. Yeah. Oh, there's another sentence from Intuitive Tarot, or a phrase, that I wrote down because I really liked it and it really helped me connect to Pentacles. And that is that Pentacles teach you to ground yourself and realize what is truly important. I thought that was really helpful for my understanding. And so when Pentacles come up in a reading, what would you say they mean? What does that mean about your reading? And so they're going to primarily deal with material conflicts rather than the emotional conflicts that Cups deal with. Finances, careers, work, all of those sort of material outward things Pentacles are going to speak to. Shall we go through some Pentacles? We're going to get Pentacle up in here. So this is the Ace of Pentacles. I hope that my setup is such that you can see what these cards are. If it's not, please let me know so that I can make it better next time. This is my first time setting up this way. So the Ace of Pentacles. So all of the aces have the new moon symbol on them. I feel like all of the aces are the essence of what a suit is. And we just talked about a whole bunch about the essence of what Pentacles are. So what is jumping out at you in this card? For me, this card is the epitome of abundance. And the specific abundance is new growth. The fruit on the trees, these, hold on, I'm looking at them upside down, so it's kind of difficult. These berries, these roots are kind of going deep into the ground. So for me, this is very much about manifesting that abundance, about growth, and about bounty. Manifesting dreams and desires. Yeah, manifesting like goals. Like Jules said, Pentacles are about like things that are very tangible and achievable. Katarina says, mine has the female figure admiring the pentacle. That's interesting. Yeah, those lush roots really stand out to me too, Latia, because, and like, for plants to thrive and continue to thrive, they have to have a really healthy root system. So I feel like this isn't like a fleeting bounty. This is about manifesting real success. Oh, wow. Hannah says, in the Rider-Waite illustrations, there is an opening in the landscape that always looks like a path, like the intent is to usher you through the garden. That is really cool. Let's move on to the Two of Pentacles. So I actually drew this card for myself in a spread. So I had looked up the meaning already, and I feel like I've really, 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 really bonded with this card. What jumps out to you? Or let me know what jumps out to you in your deck if you are going through your cards right now. In mine, the story is of Jack and the Beanstalk, so definitely an invitation to move forward. Is that your ace or your two? It's hard for me to tell with the delay. For this Two of Pentacles, what struck me immediately was balance. There is this tall stack of rocks, and this squirrel is somehow managing to balance on top of them. You also have this seed that looks like it's been planted. It's putting out roots. It's starting to bud. So for me, the Two of Pentacles is really about achieving balance and doing so really purposefully. The seed speaks to cultivation specifically. That's very purposeful planting. But what stood out to me the most this was a very confusing card for me to draw in the particular spread I was doing. So I looked it up. And read about why the author put chrysanthemums in the background. And it was for a very specific purpose. So I used to be a floral designer. So as soon as I read the story, it resonated with me. To get a floral grade chrysanthemum, those like big, beautiful Japanese chrysanthemums, you have to pinch off like basically every other branch. You don't want any other flower buds. You want all of the plant's energy to go into that one beautiful bloom. But it's a balance, because if you cut too much too quickly, that plant is going to suffer. It's not going to grow. If you don't prune enough, you're not going to get that beautiful flower. So I also wrote down as a keyword here, pruning, that balance means letting go of things too. Letting go of what doesn't serve you. My Two of Stones, says Dame Hex, is two rabbits boxing each other. For me, this represents a challenge, rivalry, and balance. Holding your ground. I think that's a beautiful interpretation. All right, let's move on. Three of Pentacles. Mine has an image of a woman who has taken a tumble but is still smiling. What an interesting image for that. How do you interpret that, Katarina? Jules Verne loves the use of chrysanthemums in that card with that meaning. Yeah, because I'm such a flower person, that is going to stick with me forever and make me remember what the Two of Pentacles means. I've found now, as I really familiarize myself with this particular deck, going in depth with the Intuitive Tarot, that when I'm looking at other decks, I kind of remember what this deck looks like. My hope is that I'm not just memorizing this deck, but I become more comfortable using others and drawing on their symbols and what those mean to that particular deck, the little nuances. But I definitely am making progress. Katarina says, I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's dealing with the duality of work being hard but satisfying. My Two of Pentacles, says Dungeon Mom, is a figure 8 with two moons, one in each section. That's a very balanced, symmetrical, sounding design. It also is kind of like, is it a figure eight or is it on its side? Meanwhile, I'm going to look at my Three of Pentacles. My Three of Pentacles has these little ants working so heckin' hard to pile up stones around this really happy little mountain of pentacles. Because I know a little bit about ants, and there's three of them on this card, to me, this is also a card that speaks to community, of working hard, but doing so with a team. Collaborating. Little ants, they are marvels of strength for how tiny they are, but they're always seen working together. It's a figure eight, upright, and very, very zen. Oh, Fake Geek Girl also has a figure eight, but on its side. That seems like a common symbol. My three is a woman leaning against two large rocks, drawing upon the strength of the earth, listening to her inner voice. Courage, freedom, creativity, focus. I love that. Four of Pentacles. So this one, I also drew recently. And what jumped out at me immediately the first time I was looking at this card was like, this blue jay is hoarding. It is hoarding so many things. So to me, the Four of Pentacles represents collecting things, maybe to too far of an extent, and greed, I guess, is easier. That's the word, greed. This card represents greed to me. Hannah says, I've only used Rider-Waite decks, and this is so cool hearing about these illustrations. Oh, hey, Euphoric Tribble. Hi there, I saw you through mutuals, and I was wondering what advice you could give me for a newcomer to witchcraft. Obviously, given my interest is less than a week old, I don't have much of anything beyond an interest and desire to grow. Well, welcome to the craft. I'm going to also let folks in chat feel free to answer that question. I would say if you're very tentatively interested right now, do a little bit of research. See if it's something for you. There are a lot of folks on YouTube who talk about like basics of witchcraft, what to do if you're just getting started, what tools you need, what tools you do not need, what you can make easily. One YouTuber that I really, really love is Witch of Wonderlust. That's Wonder with an O. So I recommend checking them out. We are talking about tarot right now, though. Oh, wow. Luca Cham says, my Three of Pentacles is one of my favorites as an elderly architect working with a younger artisan. I like the specific jobs and community. Latia says, my Four is the story of the condor's wife. The bird is sheltering from a human woman and 4 coins in its nest and is clearly not willing to let any of them go. Dusty recommends, if you're more into books, Scott Cunningham is really great. If you're interested in the path of Wicca in particular, he has a book called Wicca, although he does talk a little bit about how that is different from witchcraft. They are kind of a Venn diagram. A Witch Alone is a book that I'm reading right now that I really love. It's a really different approach to thinking about witchcraft. I love the suggestions that folks in chat are giving as well. All right. 5 of Pentacles. This card immediately looks super sad. I think it is the only card where the pentacles are broken. There's a little dead rat under the ground. And the branches are mostly bare, but there's a teeny weeny bit of new growth. Or maybe remnants of what hasn't fallen yet. Oh, well, if you're interested in Celtic Wicca, and Wicca in general, Scott Cunningham I've just found like very, very approachable in the way he explains things. Yeah, this 5 of Pentacles looks heavy. So to me, because with the broken pentacles, immediately the first keyword I wrote down was loss, lack of resources, hardship. This is a bummer of a card, and I'm going to move along from it. Yeah, if you aren't already doing this, if you aren't already doing this, I would write down ace, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., all through king, and write down 2 or 3 keywords in your book of shadows and just a notebook you have, if you have a tarot journal. Even if you don't do that right now while we're going through, but you find some like nice quiet time to go through the suit of pentacles, suit of cups, with just you and your deck. Writing down those keywords really helps, especially if you're someone like me where the act of writing helps you remember things. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us, Luca Cham. Sorry for all the different ways I've said your name. Maybe one of them was right. Thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Let's talk about the 6 of Pentacles. So this is like the opposite of the 5 of Pentacles to me. Let's see if I hold it up like this. Look at how happy this card is. The pentacles aren't just pentacle colored. They're like some of them have rosy hues to him. This is a very lively card. There are 3 different types of critters on this card. There's so many berries. They look like thimbleberries. Maybe they're just raspberries. Dusty, I bet, can recognize the leaves. So to me, this card also speaks to a community. It feels like there's this whole ecosystem in this card. It also really, really speaks to abundance. It feels like there's enough to go around. There's enough to share. It's like a cycle of helpfulness. Latia, yeah, you can be generous with your time, with your other resources, because there's enough to go around. Hannah says generosity and kindness. Dusty confirms these are raspberries. Dungeon Mom says 6 of Pentacles for me is a woman with long dark blue hair in a lotus pose with her arms raised and 6 white circles raised around her. Oh, that sounds beautiful. Fake Geek Girl says, oh, this reminds me of what I learned about the tarot sequence being a journey. It has a connection to the 5 of Pentacles because while the 5 signifies loss, lack, in the traditional Rider-Waite imagery, it also signals that help is just on the other side of the wall. Yes. Yes, I think the 5 of Pentacles in Rider-Waite has 2 people in a wintry scene. They're really struggling outside. And there are pentacles, which I believe are in stained glass in a window. And the thought is that they don't see that there's help right inside this church, or help is being withheld in some situations. Oh, Latia, I love everything you're saying. A potluck and that everyone is bringing something to the table and everyone is benefiting. I choose to believe this is an adorable woodland potluck now. 7 of Pentacles. I'm like really into spiders right now. I'm still kind of scared of them, if I'm being honest. But I'm slightly less scared of them if they're not on me. So I was excited to see a spider on one of my cards. Wildwood 6 is pretty dismal. Exploitation with 2 starving people surrounded by ruined beehives in a burned landscape. That's so depressing. That's like the opposite. Real bummer of a card. Oh man, Dame Hex, that 5 sounds really sad too. Yes, the spider is storing her pentacle food. She's building this web. She is working really hard. And spider webs are also like, I'm always amazed when I see them. Because how can anything in nature make something so precise and beautiful? And they do it really pretty quickly, too. So to me, this is about hard work, but it's about, like, precise hard work. And also that hard work paying off. This is a really positive card to me. Hannah says, fruits of your labor. Yes, that is a phrase that if I did not already fill up my keywords in my Book of Shadows, I would have written down for this card. What else did I write? Investment, refinement, determination. I really like this card. Ooh, more animals or insects that I love. The Eight of Pentacles. So here you see, I love that the pentacles are these honeycomb, in the honeycomb. And you see some honeybees working super duper hard. Bees are probably the most hardworking insects of them all. They literally work themselves to death. In the summer seasons, their lives are much shorter than, if they're not dying from cold in the winter, they actually live longer because they're resting. I've read so much about bees. But this card to me really speaks to hard work, and dedication. I'm trying to think what the difference. Can I fit both of them on here? These cards are like super related to me. They're both bugs that were working really hard. Let's see. For the 8 I wrote hard work, intention, and dedication. Katarina says, mine shows a woman admiring her painting for 8. Mine is a girl weaving nettles to set her swan brother free. The nettles sting her, but she keeps working despite it. Oh, there's that dedication coming in. Dame Hex, the other day when I was out on a walk, I saw like 50 bees on a hydrangea bush, and they were so busy and happy it made me emotional. Quarantine is making me real emotional about everything. What a mood. In the Modern Witch Tarot, says Jules Verne, the art is a picture of the artist actually working on the tarot deck, which I love for that. Yeah, it takes a lot of hard work. To get through a whole tarot deck, that is 78 illustrations you have to do. I also read the 8 of Pentacles as mastery. I have a well-dressed artisan with a hammer admiring a window, a frame adorned with very symmetrical pentacles. Yes, mastery. I mean, to build these very precise honeycomb shapes, bees are also like masters of their craft too. I really love that. Bunkerman says, Dusty says, Wildwood 8 is skill. And the art shows a stone carver making bowls. Making bowls and spearheads? Both of those? I think there might be a typo there. Oh, hey, Justice. Thanks for joining us. Where is the best place to get a tarot deck as well? Is there anything lost by using an online deck? I still live with my parents who are conservative Christians. I'm terrified enough to come out as transgender to them. I don't even want to think about how they'd react to me having a physical tarot deck. There are apps and websites which you absolutely can use. Absolutely. Especially it'll help you learn to just have a tool right away that's accessible. And I don't think that it should be something that's fearful for you. So reading tarot should be a pleasant experience. So if having a physical deck is going to add anxiety, that isn't something you have to do right now. Maybe it's something you can do later. Katarina says you can also use playing cards. Yeah. I have not done that much, but I do know that is a thing. Folks in chat are recommending tarot apps, so thank you very much for doing that. Let's move on to the 9. Look at this lazy kitty cat. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily say lazy. They're sitting in the middle of a catnip patch, enjoying it. Some of the pentacles are scattered on the ground. Some are in the background of the card. To me, and just the fact that they're scattered on the ground, to me this speaks of abundance, but in a very particular context. There is enough that this cat can just relax and kind of enjoy the fruits of their labor, that phrase that Hannah brought up earlier. Dusty says, in Wildwood, it is gain. Mine is a man in a watermelon field who has cracked open a watermelon to enjoy. Yes. Yes. All of these are kind of speaking to the same thing. I feel like we are all aligned on 9 of Pentacles. That you are getting, like, Latias literally has someone enjoying literally the fruits of their labor. Oh, Wildwood is tradition. Crowley's game. Okay, never mind. Wildwood is different. Hannah says, the Rider-Waite is a person in a lush garden with a bird resting in their hand. Yeah, that seems like bliss. And that's kind of like what the cat is doing. The cat, I bet, would love to have a bird resting in his paw. But yeah, to me, what did I write? I wrote independence, indulgence, security. So it's not, I think it probably could warn, in context of a spread, it could warn of overindulgence. I might read it that way if a card is reversed. But I don't think it necessarily is indulgence isn't necessarily bad. If you are secure, if you've worked really hard, you deserve to indulge and enjoy your labors. Okay. 10 of Pentacles. This deck in particular has some symbolism that really speaks to me on this. So the 10s have always, to me, been sort of like the culmination of what the essence of this suit times a million, or times 10, I suppose, of what that means. The ace represents sort of the essence, and then the 10 is like times a bunch. Gosh, it's just literally times 10. I don't know why I keep saying that. It's literally times 10. Oh, hey, Justice. This is my first Tarot Tuesday. Are we assigning our own meanings to the cards, or do they have intrinsic meanings on their own? So there are, especially for cards that follow the Rider-Waite tradition, there are meanings that are typically associated with the cards. But I say, if you're going through a tarot deck alongside all of us, and a card is saying something to you very strongly, then there is no right and wrong. Or, in fact, your intuition is right. Follow your intuition above all. That's what I say. I think it's probably helpful to be aware of what the common meanings are. So this 10 of Pentacles, I note a few things. And also I'll call out something that is in the description in my little white book. There are bears. But it's a family. It's a mama and a baby bear. So this is speaking to family in particular, this card for me. Maybe ancestry. But what I read about these roses is that these are heirloom roses. So that means a few things. That means the seeds have been carefully harvested to replant and allow like the spread of like this very particular type of rose. They've been passed down from generation to generation. This is an old rose. It's going to grow hardy and abundant. It's going to have deep roots where it's growing. So to me, this is about abundance again, which has been a word for a lot of these Pentacle cards. But this is abundance that's built on a strong foundation. Abundance that you can share with your family and loved ones. Let's see, what else did I write? Family, ancestry, stability, foundation. That's what I've got. For Wildwood, it is home. For Crowley, Dusty's getting the keyword of wealth. Are these, I know Wildwood has keywords written on the cards. Does Crowley as well? Are those the words you're sharing with us? Both. All right. Now we're getting to the court cards. And just a reminder that these court cards typically represent people who are coming in and out of your life, or personality traits that either you have, or someone has, or someone or you are wanting. The Page of Pentacles, what drew me immediately was that there's like a little pile of rocks, but really these dandelions, and that they're in wishy form. These are, when I was a kid, I would grab, and much to the chagrin probably of all the adults around me, just blow and make wishes. So to me, this is a very youthful card, and speaks to wishes, to goals. And also, they aren't like just for making wishes. They're seeds that you're blowing into the wind. So for this is about someone who is starting a journey. They are young and curious, and they're planting seeds that they can harvest later. Hannah says, daydreamer, flighty, not grounded. Dusty, but I don't know why I'm even bothering with Crowley. Like, wealth, seriously, this is this dude's idea of culmination of pentacle energy. Give me that home. Yeah, different values there. My princess is a woman in profile that is in a yoga workout gear. There's a circular earth beneath her, and she's holding a glowing blue orb. That's a very interesting imagery, Dungeon Mom. What does that mean to you? Hannah says, I mean, I can imagine that for Crowley, consistent with some of his work. All right. Here is the Knight. Which, knowing that these are ramps, which are a type of wild spring onion, really speaks to me. So this pentacle is literally in the ground. So the Knight of Pentacles, I find, is really grounded. There's someone who plans to forage these ramps. You need to be very thoughtful and plan ahead if you want to be able to forage them for years to come. They take a really, really, really long time to grow. And if you pull them up and remove the bulb, just pull them, you're really stunting their growth / they're not going to grow. You need to carefully snip them. And plan ahead in that way for future harvests. Dungeon Mom says about their princess, she seems to be seeking and being successful, the princess. Let's see. So I find the Knight to be someone who plans. They're very patient. They're very grounded. And that word that we kept talking about with this suit, which is practical. This Knight is practical. He might be the only one who is of all the Knights, because the Knights are a person of action. Dungeon Mom says, my Knight is a man in profile with a suggestion of very comfy clothes. There's that practical for you. Holding a sphere on his right hip like a basketball. The colors are cool greens and blues. He seems relaxed and chill and just really zen. Yeah, that sounds like a Knight of Pentacles. Let's talk about the Queen of Pentacles. This is, I think, a mourning dove, if I'm remembering correctly. And she's sitting on a nest. And the Queen of Pentacles I've had described to me as sort of like when you think of the stereotypical mother figure, that is what the Queen of Pentacles symbolizes. Someone who's very, very nurturing, someone who is sensible, who is very generous, has a lot to give. Dame Hex, Lysa, isn't TK really into ancestor magic? That is the basis of their practice. I think they're lurking, but I don't know if they're available in chat to chime in. Honestly, the pull I feel is towards the magic of my ancestors, the druids' magic. It sounds like you have a really, for someone who started this conversation saying that you're very new to the idea of all of this, seems like you have a good sense of who you are and what is important to you, euphoric tribble, and I appreciate that, and you. Hey TK, someone was asking about where to start learning more about ancestor magic. I will let you take it away in chat if there's any suggestions you have. So that is my Queen of Pentacles. Dungeon Mom says, the queen for me is a woman with a green dress, red fire hair, looking directly at the user, a pearly orb floating in her cupped hand. Her colors are warm red, purples, very inviting, but also seems willing to defend if need be. Very much mom energy. All right. And then we have the King of Pentacles. What jumped out to me was the giant evergreen behind the stag that this pentacle is nestled into. And to me, like, evergreen, to me, talks about evergreen resources, that you're very, very secure. The stag speaks to protection for me, maybe because they have those horns that they can protect with. I also wrote down last night, steadfast. Yeah, the King of Pentacles. So the king, again, is like the ruler of this suit. And if we're saying pentacles are resources, this is a ruler of his resources. He's probably, like, even more practical than the Knight of Pentacles. In Rider-Waite, says Hannah, the king is depicted with nature elements on his robes and his kingdom behind him. He is part of the earth, part of the land, part of the community. I adore that. Yeah. This also makes me think of Bambi and how the Bambi's dad and then, like, the other stag that Bambi ends up following. I mean, spoiler alerts for Bambi, I guess. Reminds me of that, King of the Forest. Brittany says, oh wow, this guy, suave, very James Bond energy. He's an older gentleman with a beard, dark blue suit fixing his cuff. I may or... Oh my gosh, Brittany. Ooh, Dame Hex, the King of Stones and Wildwood is a wolf howling at the moon. That's very interesting energy for Pentacles. Honestly, I probably associate, like, howling at the moon feels like such a, like, a passionate, instinctual thing, but it's strong. So those were our Pentacles. So kind of like as an after we've gone through the Pentacles, how do folks feel about that? Are you feeling like you understand the suit a little better? If you did not have your tarot cards to go through Pentacles with us, as we just went through, you can certainly do this exercise later on your own. Like, if it's safe to do so, light some candles, some incense, like meditate on each card. If you want to, you can listen to the VOD and go through with your cards at the same time. Hannah says, I'm not as afraid of them. That's great. Fake Geek Girl says, my king has a bull in the background. Similar energy of strength, confidence, leadership. Yes. All right. So, to wind us down, I thought, because I actually at 7 o'clock, so in about 45 minutes, I have another stream. I'm going to be on Big Dungeon Show on twitch.tv/VV Spaceship, playing a game where it's a role-playing game where I'm a grandma. I think I get to hit things with my purse. I'm going to bring that crone energy, of course. We're doing a session 0, so I'm going to learn how to play the game and make my character with everybody. So I'm ending a little bit early today, but we still have 12 minutes. I thought let's do like a nice soothing activity together. We've done this at least once before on a Tarot Tuesday, and it's a nice way to wind down, I think. Cronergy. Fakey girl, I see you. I see what you did. All right, so I think it was the first Tarot Tuesday, and actually there's nothing on this screen, so I'm just going to leave the King of Pentacles there. We can enjoy his energy. We did a power question, which came from the a beginning of a planner that had just kind of fallen into my life. And I start my day every day with my coffee, sort of meditating on one of these power questions. And it wasn't until just the other day I realized there's a whole bunch of evening power questions too. So I think for most folks, it's evening right now. So let's do an evening power question together. We won't do all of them. We'll just choose one and we'll all share. All right. Let's do, what is the best thing that happened to me today? What is the best thing that happened to you today? And if you're having a bad day and your instinct is nothing, And you can extend it to, say, the weekend too, but let's pick the best thing. I think the best thing to happen to me just today, I woke up, so on my vacation, I got into the habit, I'm not a morning person, I got into the habit of waking up a little later. And this morning I woke up earlier. I asked Dusty to make sure I got out of bed so that I could have some time to enjoy just with myself and the cats before I worked. And I got to sit and drink my coffee, and then I was trying to meditate on a power question, and I was really unfocused, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to exist and just like observe the things around me, not focus too hard on them, just kind of exist. And that felt, I don't always gel with that type of meditation, but that felt like really, really nice just to slow down for a moment before I had to focus on work and get going with my day. Let's see with other folks. Brittany says, this is probably the best thing. I have the energy to, this is probably the best thing. I have the energy to finish up my writing, which I've been procrastinating lately. Bakey Girl says, in keeping with Pentacles energy, I finished work early enough to tune in here today. Hannah says, I conquered a new task at my terrible day job. I've been stressing about it and I tackled it and won. Good for you. That must feel good to be on the other side of that. I've been doing a big full moon ritual day and just cooked dinner over a campfire. Jules Verne, that sounds so cool. I woke up feeling very rested, says Dame Hex. My partner delivered coffee to me. Just a very relaxing day in general. Oh, well, Tina, thank you. Best Fontina, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck. I need to go to immigration today to get my visa sorted. Good luck with your visa. That can be such a pain in the butt. I hope it's a swift and painless process for you. Katerina, I had someone compliment my image saying it was gorgeous. That always feels good. Compliments. All right, so our power question has a follow-up. We're going to group this all as one question. So the follow-up is, how can I create similar experiences? How can I create similar experiences? So you did something that felt good. How can you get more of that in your life? So for me, it's really hard for me to do because I'm such a night owl, but I know that it feels so much better to wake up early and have some time for myself before work. So I think what I'm probably going to do, and he's watching, so I'm just going to say this now before I change my mind, is tell Dusty to be a little more aggressive about making sure I wake up when he wakes up, because he wakes up earlier than me. Maybe not the first time you wake up, Dusty, to run reports, but when you wake up proper. Get me out of bed, because it feels so good to just spend some time in the living room before I go down into my office. Dusty, ha ha ha, careful what you wish for. Justice, oh, I feel that waking up early is a struggle for me. What about the rest of you? What can you do to create more of those experiences you enjoy? Dungeon Mom says, stop procrastinating, which is great about my Mystic Monday deck. It talks to me about balance and keeping balance so you don't feel that nervous, anxious energy and keep it at bay. I'm really glad that deck does that for you. Katerina says, I feel like I need to be more active in more art platforms and acknowledge someone via comment rather than a like. I think that that's great because you can, by leaving a comment, you know how great that felt for you. They're going to appreciate that. And you know what? Maybe they're going to have that same thought where they're like, well, that felt good. I'm going to do that for someone else and continue to pay it forward. Or they're going to think, well, I have this relationship with this person, this conversation going, so let me say something nice about them. Ooh, I got a bunch of messages all at once. Wake up for morning meditation with Friday. I'll go make myself do it with you. Getting in that habit will help you look forward to waking up. Oh my gosh, but 7 is so early. Oh, Rin, why you do this to me? Okay. All right. No, I'm going to try. I'm going to be the grump. I can't promise it'll be pleasant, but I'm going to try to wake up for morning meditation. For those of you who don't know, 7 a.m. on weekdays, 7 a.m. Pacific time on weekdays, twitch.tv/Friday afternoon tea, meditation time. Big Geek Girl says, honestly, the first thing I thought of was also waking up earlier, but more generally, just taking enough time in the morning to feed my body and mind so I'm energized for the day. I definitely think like doing some sort of little something for yourself, whether it's meditation, whether it's your daily tarot draw, just something. It makes you feel like you're a whole person, like work isn't everything. You have a whole, full, rounded life. Hannah says, compartmentalize my day more so I can be more available and present at night with my family. I don't need to carry stress for my job, especially for a job that stomps my joy. That is a really tough one, but definitely a worthy goal. Especially at stay at home, it's hard for people to leave work at work. You don't really have that separation of like walking out of an office and driving or taking the bus home. So it's a struggle for a lot of people right now. Jules says, I have the technology to have a fire whenever I want. This doesn't need to be a once every 6 months thing. It's so relaxing. Yeah, that sounds, oh gosh, cooking over a campfire sounds great. All right, a lot of folks are committing to Friday's meditation with me, so I won't be lonely. I mean, not that I would be. There's other folks there. Wake up tips. Move your wake up time back by 15 to 30 minutes each week. Thank you for the tip. Thank you for the tip. Proven to help your body adjust. I once did a New Year's resolution for 6 a.m. and it lasted 3 whole months. I felt so recharged and alert, but then I decided I wanted to be an owl instead. Yeah, I've got that owl energy, but it's much nicer to be awake early while Dusty's awake and be able to spend that time together. And the moon is such a magical force, but I also just am very connected to the sun, so having light out, it's going to be so hard for me in the winter when it's dark out. Glances at 5:30 a.m. I would love to stay in bed until 5:30. Goodness gracious. All right. Thank you for doing that power question with me. I really like hearing about other people's days and lives, and also knowing that struggles that some of us have, or desires or goals that some of us have, that we share them. They're not so dissimilar. A lot of us want to wake up earlier, so we can try to do that together. And try different methods, try those tips that you shared. I really like these power questions. I need to remember to try to do these at the ends of streams more often. But as we wind down, tomorrow, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, I'm streaming Druidcraft. I still need to figure out what craft I want to do. I don't know if I can do the broom because I would need to forage all of the materials. Which I might be able to do some on my lunch break. That could be a nice, gentle get away from my desk thing. Let me figure it out. I may or may not do a broom. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I have an outlet here. I need to figure out if I can wood burn and in a way that you all can see. Either way, I'll pick one of these fun crafts that I've been doing for us to do together. Dame Hex, make a broom or a smudge stick. I could maybe make smudge sticks. We did forage a bunch of red cedar when we went to the evergreen forest I talked about at the beginning. Broom or journal covering is Brittany's suggestion. Maybe you can show a mirror as well. We'll just make all the things. We will figure out a craft. I will pick one, try my best to pick something that one of you all really wants to see. But either way, it'll be just a fun, gentle time. We'll chat about witchy stuff. We can chat about TRPGs, things we're excited about in D&D or other games. We can just chat about anything, really, and do like a nice like craft together for an hour or so. Yeah, I really don't have much else to say. I really had a good time with everybody for Tarot Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. At 7 o'clock Pacific time, so in about 30 minutes, I recommend either checking out Tea and Tarot with Friday Afternoon Tea. That's their Twitch handle, Friday Elliott. She does really fun like readings and while drinking tea, and it's just a really good time if you want to continue the witchy vibes tonight. Alternately, at 7 o'clock, again in 30 minutes, I will be on the Big Dungeon show learning how to play Oba-chan Panic, an RPG about being a grandma. So if you want to see me make my character, you could join me and 2 other lovely guests there. In the meantime, no matter what you do, please, I need like a sign-off thing, because I always just like kind of awkwardly meander at the end of these videos. Discord, we will brainstorm together. Thank you everyone for being here. Be gentle and nice to yourselves. Or else. Yeah, that's a great gentle ending. Bye everybody.